Hey everybody, it's the Jake of all trades, and we are back for the third video in this series. As you may recall, in the first video, we talked about how you can test your dice to see how close to standard they are rolling. In the second video, we discussed what standard is on a d20 and other role-playing dice. And this is the third video where we're actually going to, now that we know which two of our dice are going to be the most close to average, we are going to see what advantage looks like on these d20. And the disadvantage. You can roll the same numbers and it works the same way. So we are going to get into it. As I mentioned in the last video, it's much better practice just to use like an Excel spreadsheet when you're typing down your numbers. So that's what I did this time. Hopefully we should have some footage of me rolling some dice over there. And I will also throw up a little image of my spreadsheet over there too, so you kind of see. Maybe it's mixed up, but you'll get an idea of what that looks like. Now, while this is running, I'm sure some of you are wondering, why did you go through all of this trouble just to, roll all these dice, when you could look up, you could just Google, or better yet, you could come up with a math formula and just work out what the statistical average of that roll would be. And there's a couple reasons I didn't do that. One is that I thought this would be more fun and more entertaining, and it was a more engaging use of my time, whereas just Googling something, takes like 5 seconds. I'm trying to be a scientist about it. I'm trying to get to the heart of the matter without having to just Google it. The other reason is because although I have a proclivity for math, I don't know nearly enough math or nearly good enough math to figure out how to write that out in a mathematical equation. So instead, I just trusted the good people at Google after I'd finished rolling through all of these dice. And there are a few different articles. I'll try to throw up a few different links here and there, but there's a few different articles that talk about it. And basically, it boils down to there's sort of two schools of thought. There's one which is just the statistical advantage of advantage. And disadvantage of disadvantage, right? But there was another school of thought that said, what is it on an odds for success or something like that? Like if you have a skill check that only requires a 1 to succeed, then you have, advantage doesn't do anything for you statistically because you're guaranteed to succeed that skill check because it's a minimum of 1. You would just have to roll the die and you have succeeded that skill check. Like at 1, it's 100%. At 2, it's like 97, and it's like a whole thing. But I was really interested in just the statistical advantage, and the reason that I want to bring this all up because the internet says that the average should be exactly 3.325 is the advantage you should expect on a d20 roll with advantage. So that turns your 10.5 average into a 13.825 on average. On average, right? This is obviously just a statistical average thing. And the reason that I bring this up, though, is because my number was wildly different. In fact, it was nearly double that average. When I calculated this all out, I got 6.48 and, a little bit of change. It was close to 6.5 was the bonus you got on advantage when I was rolling these two dice. And again, I chose the two dice that I thought were the most statistically average. In fact, according to the 1,000 rolls I did for each of those die, they came in a little under average. One of them was like 10.42 and the other one was like 10.46 or something like that. Just a hair under 10.5. And so it was bewildering that advantage would contribute such a huge bonus, and I don't understand. So let's talk about some of the possibilities of where I could have messed up here, or some issues with how I was collecting my data. Okay, the first issue that I could have had with my dice is that they were not rolled in like sterile environments, right? If you refer back to that video that we just showed earlier, you could see that I was rolling 2d20 in the same dice pit, and we talked earlier about some of the issues with rolling in a dice pit potentially, about how that could affect your rolls. There was a lot of instances where the dice were bumping into each other. There was one instance where a dice had landed on a total and then another one bumped off the wall and then hit the other one, changing the total. Both die in theory, so there was little things like that could have played a part. I was using 1,000 rolls, which is, it sounds like quite a large sample size, but when you look at some of these other articles and reference some of their processes online, they were scripting out programs to record like 1,000,000 die rolls. And if you think about it in those terms, I only did 1/1,000th of the number of rolls that they did. And so it's entirely possible that if I were to roll those dice out, 999,000 times more, that average is going to come down a lot further from 6.5. It'll come down to that 3.3 area where it should be. User error is another possibility. I recorded these all down on an Excel spreadsheet, and I used a formula function to total all of the whole column of differences, and then I used an average function. It averages every number that's in that column. I recorded whenever I rolled the same number on both die, I recorded it as a 0, so that should be functioning properly, so I don't understand why that isn't working. I also looked at the averages for both die on these 1,000 rolls, because I did 1,000 rolls before to see how statistically average they were, right? This is an additional 1,000 rolls on top of that, and I tracked each individual roll for each individual die as well, not just the difference between the two. So I know that they're rolling pretty close-ish to average too. I mean, I assume that my functions are working properly, so I don't think that's it. And I mean, besides some potential errors when I was typing the numbers into the sheet, I double checked my work too. I went back through, scrolled through all 1,000 rolls on the spreadsheet. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any like missed squares. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any like 3-digit numbers or any numbers larger than 20, but I didn't find any anomalies like that. It all seemed like it was in order. If anyone watching this video has any ideas on where I screwed up my math, or how I screwed up my math, I would be really interested to know, because everything I read online says advantage is worth a flat statistical average of plus 3.325, and I just don't understand how my number is almost twice as big. So that's basically the video. We now know that advantage, at least it should be less than 5. So if you're using 5 as just a base number for what advantage is, stop doing it, because it's much closer to like 3 or 3.2 or 3.5 than it is 5. And you're really doing yourself a disservice. Be sure to keep that in mind. Let me know if you have any other ideas for fun dice videos. I always like dice, I like math, and I love role-playing. Stay tuned for more content, and we'll see you again soon.